Hello, and welcome to our show for the love of animals. We're certainly glad you joined us today here in the studios in Paducah, Kentucky. I'm Darlene Pigford.
And I'm Greg Bauer, and we want to tell our viewers about some upcoming shows that we have planned for you. Buzz from the Hive. I think you'll find this one interesting. It's a part one and a part two, and then also a second part to a show we did earlier on Gone Fishing.
And we're going to do what? Part two?
Mm-hmm. And dealing with the bowfin and the paddlefish.
Oh my goodness, I need
this one. But Darlene, what's on tap for today? Well,
this is a cultural show, so to speak. We're going to feature our quilts for animal lovers. There are many quilts here in Paducah, but you're just going to see today those that have an animal theme. Why don't you introduce our special guests?
Oh, I'll be glad to. And these two are no strangers to you viewers. On the right down there is Judy Schwender, who's curator and registrar of the National Quilt Museum, and to her left is Becky Glasby, who's the director of education for the National Quilt Museum, and they brought some wonderful examples to show us today.
Well, Judy, first of all, what is the National Quilt Museum here in Paducah, Kentucky?
The National Quilt Museum is a wonderful institution that Paducah's lucky to have.
Yes.
I agree.
And we have over 13,000 square feet of exhibition space for quilts. And our mission is to honor today's quilter and support and help promote quilting.
And that is the old-fashioned and the newer multimedia quilts, right? I mean,
well, you know, if there's a tool that helps you make your quilts, or a material or something, it's all under the same umbrella. We're good with it.
Yeah. And you change your exhibition
on a regular basis.
On a regular basis.
We have two side galleries with loaned exhibits and exhibits that I assemble from loaned quilts, and then we have our large main gallery, which is where we exhibit quilts that the museum owns.
Okay. And what is this quilt show that comes in April annually to Paducah?
Well, a local business, AQS, the American Quilters Society, puts on quilt shows around the country. The one here in Paducah at the end of April every year is the Big Mamu. The Big Mamu.
It's fantastic.
It is. It's and it does have a contest, and prizes are awarded, and quilters come from all over the world, all over the country to see that show, and they also come to the Quilt Museum.
Absolutely.
You know, we're just kind of down the street, and we have shuttle buses running back and forth, so we get the doors of the bus open, and in come the quilters.
And your job is to maintain the quilts and maintain a database about who did it and of what variety, and that's your responsibility.
Maintain the records and take care of the quilts, make sure the exhibits are going well, and get the exhibits together. And one of the best parts of that is I get to know a lot of quilters and quilt collectors.
Yes.
So that's a lot of fun.
Okay, and Becky, as educator, what's your role?
To educate people about quilting in the general sense, but definitely to help teach the younger generation to pass on our love of quilting and the joy of quilting and kind of those techniques and those ideas to a lot of the local generations here, as well as then to promote quilting to the visitors who come through, and we do workshops throughout the year with nationally recognized teachers. So we bring in quilt instructors to teach great workshops and techniques as they go as well.
And so you have an annual contest called the School Block Challenge. Tell us real quickly about that.
It's a nationwide contest. It's open to kids from K through 12th grade all across the country, and we don't limit it just to those in institutional schools or private public schools. It's open to homeschool students. It's open to scout troops, church groups. We've had Boy Scout groups, Girl Scouts, you know, anything like that the kids can get involved. They can learn about quilting, be creative, and we have 3 challenge fabrics each year, sponsored by Motive Fabrics, that the kids receive in their packets, and they have to use a piece of each of those challenge fabrics in their block. So they get to create anything they want as long as they use those.
So they don't have to quilt.
Right, they're just creating the top of the quilt, just the beginning step, really, of the quilt itself. And then once the blocks are returned to them, a lot of them do finish up the quilts and quilt it all together to enter into other fairs as they go.
So the idea is to be creative, give me 3 pieces of fabric and be creative to produce something.
Yes, they can add other materials, other fabrics to the challenge pieces that we send them. A lot of times they'll use it in their school curriculum, so they have a certain focus maybe for that particular class. Or it's just whatever the kids can create, and they can dream up a lot of great things with their imagination. So it's really fun to see how they use the materials and to see them learning about sewing. And some do it by hand, some do it on the machine, some use a combination of both. So they're learning these skills and kind of seeing that it's fun and that it's art, and they can do this. It's not that hard to learn something different. So we enjoy it.
We're going to see some beautiful examples of what the students have done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In fact, why don't we start with one now?
Yep.
Okay.
This is called Oscar. It's this adorable puppy by Anna Waldrop. She's from Trinity Christian Academy in Lexington, Kentucky. She's in the 4th grade, and she's got wonderful details to this puppy. She's got a little sweater on him. He's got a little collar there that's actually little mini dog bone beads that she's added on top of the materials. There's a cute little bow that she's added on top. She's got the eyes marked in there. She's done a lot of great work to really represent the puppy. What's the actual
size of this?
They are 16 inches square.
Okay.
That they have to enter in with their pieces. And like I said, they can create whatever they want. We get a lot of kids with pets, and so they mimic their blocks off of their own pets, their own puppies, their own cats, which is really great for them to kind of represent something that they have going on as well.
Okay, well, we're going to be seeing a lot more of the quilt blocks, but now, Judy, why don't you start off with our first quilt now, which could be really large or a little smaller.
Oh my gosh, this is Adventure Awaits.
Okay.
And it's a big quilt. And off the top of my head, I can't remember the size, but it's about, 80 by 80.
Okay.
Something like that. It's pretty good size.
Okay.
Yes.
And if you at first look at it, you think, what is all this? Well, what this is a retelling of the adventure that's presented in Tolkien's The Hobbit.
Oh, okay.
And it starts at one point on the quilt, and it's almost like following a maze.
Okay.
And it goes around the quilt, and different scenes happen and so forth. And, for instance, this wonderful shot. Snakes are animals, too.
Oh.
They're not my favorite animals. But there are snakes in the quilt. And the maker, Susan Stewart, she did this, or Sue McCarty, thank you, Becky. Sue McCarty, she uses a long arm sewing machine to create all this, and she also did some applique. And one of the things is how lively these animals look. This is a stag, and most of this is done with thread work.
Okay.
So if you think of a sewing machine thread as your drawing line. So she's drawn these with a sewing machine. So we have a stag. And there's, the dearest section, I swear. Little rabbits, and you can see the carrots and the cabbage, and just, they're so sweet.
What detail.
And that, it's all very small, but there's a legend, we have a legend posted next to the quilt, and it lists, for instance, there's 2 lizards, 2 snakes, 1 turtle, 1 frog, 7 moths, 10 bees, 2 snails, 2 spiders, 6 flying bugs, and so on. And there's a list there, and you can go up to the quilt and start finding all these things.
Wow.
And it's a lot of fun.
So this is a machine quilt.
This is a machine quilted quilt. Yes.
Wow. Well, it is excellent. Boy, are we going to have fun today, Greg.
I can tell that already. And we're getting a good start, but we want to take a short break now and listen to a fascinating happy tale about Sugar Tree. And the video that the viewers will see on this was produced by Olivia, who is a local middle school student.
And very talented.
And you can tell from the video that she knows what she's doing. So give a listen to the story and watch the video.
Sugar Tree found us during one of the small ice storms in December 2008. He was the kitten stuck in the ice-covered tree in our yard, and he was scared of the neighbor's dogs. We helped him down, and he kept close to us. We did find out that he was the kitten of a stray that was being fed 2 houses down, and he was free for the taking. We feel that he actually adopted us. He's a mixed breed, with Maine Coon being the most obvious breed. He is intelligent, fun, and a great example to us about how to relax and take a nap. Sugar Tree enjoys an outdoor and indoor lifestyle. He now likes to demonstrate his great tree climbing ability, going both up and down trees. We couldn't ask for a better companion for our family.
We hope you enjoyed that little tale about Sugar Tree. He's a fascinating little cat from there. This afternoon we're dealing with quilts and on School Block Challenge and so on. You've had an introduction to it. And Judy, if our viewers want more information about the Quilt Museum, how can they get that?
Well, we are right downtown in Paducah, 215 Jefferson Street. And they could go to our website, www.quiltmuseum.org, and they can also call the museum. As of course, we have to use 270 now, 270-442-8856.
And what are your hours there?
Okay, Monday through Saturday, we're open from 10 to 5. Beginning in March, we're open from 1 to 5.
On Sundays.
And on Sundays.
And that's through November.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Well, Judy, let's take a look at some of the quilts that you brought with you
Yeah, let's
today.
continue with quilts.
Well, we have kitties on the next one.
Oh.
This is called Cats on a Hot Tin Roof, and this is actually a very small quilt. This is called a footy, so it's just 11.5 inches by 11.5 inches. It was made by Doris McManus, and what she would do is make 1 foot square quilts to try a new technique, to try to express an idea, to try new materials, whatever. But we have a collection of her footies, and this is one of them. And that's what cats do. They gather like that at night. And then let's see. Feathered Beauties. This one's by Pamela Humphreys, and when you first glance at it, you don't maybe see all the birds, but there's a most beautiful cardinal on this, and if this is an applique quilt where individual pieces of fabric have the edges turned under and it's invisibly sewn to the background, every feather in this cardinal is a separate piece of fabric. And Pamela obviously knows cardinals very well, and she has, a woodpecker? I mean, it looks like a real woodpecker. And it's all done in fabric, and then there's some I believe they're bluebirds. They might be robins. The birders out there will tell us. They'll let us know.
It's such an exquisite design, too.
It is. The overall design of the quilt is quite nice.
Yes. It looked old-fashioned.
Yeah, and this is what you can do with a quilt when you're talented.
Wow.
When you're very talented.
Okay.
Then we have a wonderful, fabulous new quilt called Ms. McDonald Had a Farm. And some time ago in another For the Love of Animals, we had a quilt by Bonnie Keller. Well, this one was designed by Bonnie Keller, but the individual blocks were made by members of her quilt group. It's called the Hanging by a Thread Quilt Group in Chehalis, Washington. And it uses impressionistic colors, it uses wild fabrics, but these animals just look like they could walk up to you and nuzzle you.
Right.
There's a fabulous cat. The cat has a little kitten with it, and then there's a kitty.
How precious.
Kitty. I have cats, so I can say that. There's a wonderful cow, and of course the birds that hang out with the cows. And there's a really nice geese block or goose block with goslings. And patterns are available for the individual blocks, which is way fun. But this is a recent acquisition by the museum.
It's lovely. Very clever.
I'm just totally fascinated by the artwork that's seen here.
I know, and one of the things about artwork and animals is it's been done since before history, prehistory. And this one is called Pictograph. It's by Patricia Styring, Petroglyph. Boy, thank goodness Becky backs me up. Anyway, Petroglyph, and it's it depicts animals like as you would see on a pictograph.
On the cave?
Yeah, on a cave. Yeah. And the method is really interesting. It's a bleach discharge. So on the black fabric, you would lay like a stencil of the stag or the deer, whatever you want to call this, and then you mist bleach over it, and it lightens the background.
Oh my word!
And then there's another.
And this is quilting.
And this is the top of the quilt. So quilt makers have a lot of methods available to them.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
So
Wonderful.
So Petroglyph has a really wonderful ancient look to it, if you will. Then we have, okay, that was long ago. Now we're coming back up to the future. We have the Beatles quilt. And you're thinking, what do the Beatles have to do, other than, Beatles, have to do with animals? Well, Pat Holly and Sue Nichols, the sisters that made this quilt, included Beatles songs and depicted them depending upon what, the song was about. And the one that I had to pick out, which I love, is called Octopus's Garden in the Shade. Just like snakes are animals, octopi are also animals. So there's a wonderful octopus there. They depict these wild and crazy birds in the border, and it's just so bright and lively. And maybe you've never seen this bird in reality, like the cardinal and the woodpecker in the other quilt, but hey, birdies are there.
It's a very popular quilt too. A lot of people ask about this one when they come to the museum. If they've been here before, they want to see this quilt.
They want to see it.
It's so different.
Where's the Beatles?
Beatles.
Especially those of us that were around 50 years ago when all that happened.
Okay.
Then we have a wonderful little quilt. And when I say little, I mean little. One of the makers of the previous quilt, Pat Holly, made this. This is a miniature quilt, part of our Oh Wow miniature collection. It is 15 inches by 17 inches. It's called Tiny Tigers 2. And there is, that bird that you're seeing is maybe as wide as my thumb.
Oh my goodness.
And this is all done on a machine. This is all machine work. And you try making something that's only about an inch wide or an inch and a half wide with a sewing machine. Here's the tiny tigers marching around the central motif. And she was heavily influenced by her trip to India when she went to see the Calico Museum and was inspired by all kinds of Indian textiles and motifs. Wonderful peacocks. This section is maybe 2 inches across. So all those little dots, all those little leaves, all the feathers, everything is very tiny, and more birds. And if you've ever seen a picture of a bus in India, they decorate them beyond decoration, and that's the way this quilt is. But it's all packed, like I said, in a 15-inch by 17-inch package. Oof. It's just amazing, and you're happy when you look at this.
Yes, you are. Wow.
Well, those are some beautiful quilts that you brought us, Judy.
Talented.
I'm just amazed at the more I look at them. But we want to stop and take a quick break now and listen to a second happy tale for today. This one is about two little young kittens named Bandita and Vader. And I think you'll enjoy their precious little story, so give a listen.
Bandita is a female domestic short-hair black and white cat that is approximately 3 months old. She loves to play with toys and with people. She's very social and loves to play fetch with her mice. She purrs every time someone puts their hands on her. She is very sweet and loving. Vader is a male, domestic, short-haired black cat and is approximately 2 months old. He's kind of shy with people, but he loves his sister Bandita. But he doesn't like dogs at all. He plays with Bandita all day and cuddles with her in their bed. He's a very sweet but shy little boy.
Welcome back. That was a neat little tale about Bandita and Vader, and they're going to make some real nice pets for some lucky people. Well, This afternoon, we've been looking at quilts, and Judy's just shared a number of the quilts with us, and we want to turn now back to Becky for some examples of the School Block Challenge. Becky?
Sure. Like I said, we've always get a lot of great entries. We have 185 blocks this year entered in the contest from 15 different states. Okay. And this one here, the block itself was untitled. It's by a 3rd grade student, Joshua, from Lexington, Kentucky, the Trinity Christian Academy, and it's this wonderful dinosaur, and I just think it's fantastic. Aww. He's got all of his materials going the right way, all those little arches going together to create this shape, and he's really put the emphasis on the outline of the dinosaur. He's got a little bit of a button for the eye, and then just a smidge of a border of the fabric. So he's really used these challenge fabrics very, very well. Yes. And it's very fun to see a different kind of animal that's not usually a pet to go through to have the dinosaurs in there, which is a lot of fun. Oh. This next one is very cute too. It's called Kitty Playtime. It's by a 3rd grade student, Ellie Adams. 3rd grade from the same school, Trinity Christian Academy in Lexington. And she's got these cute little balls for the cat to play with. And the fun part about this one, the cat and the little balls that go with it are stuffed, what we call trapunto in quilting. So she's taken those layers and then put extra stuffing inside so it's more 3D and it kind of stands out from the background itself.
Stitched them?
Yep. They're hand stitched kind of around the edges, and with that stuffing inside, the little kitty just kind of jumps off the quilt block to you, which is always fun.
That's a happy one
to see.
Yes.
Up next, we start into our middle school category. We judge K through 4th, and then we do 5th through 8th. So this is by a 5th grade group of students. It's called Jumpin' Into Jersey, and they're from Lincoln Street School out in Caldwell, New Jersey. We've got Jasmine, Rosie, Anna, Caitlin, and Grace who worked on this wonderful dolphin that's leaping out of the water. They've got this great sunshine and some little birds coming across as well. And they just obviously had a good time representing a little bit about their state and being on the coastline there in New Jersey, but having this wonderful dolphin to represent on their block. We really enjoyed seeing what they could put together. On this next one, we've got a student from from Cadiz, Kentucky, and it's Vincent Matthews. He's from the Trigg County 4-H Quilting Club. So as I said, we get students from outside of regular schools. It's called Tropical Fish, and this won the honorable mention in our high school 9th through 12th grade category. And he's done a wonderful job putting these fabrics together to create these beautiful fish and kind of almost like they're in a little dance underwater, kind of representing that, which is always really nice to see as well. Up next, this is such a great block. We've got Friends of a Feather, and it's this beautiful owl by Addie Wegner. She's from Cascade, Idaho. She's a homeschooled student, and she won 1st place in our middle school category with this block. So she's got a great composition of these 2 tree branches coming across the top and bottom of the block, and then this really fat, friendly owl put together there with these big eyes, and his the stitching that goes on the owl as well, done by machine. So she had a lot of fun putting that together.
That's amazing.
They're always creative with their animals to go through, but it's fun to see what they really put together. This one I really like. It's called My Songbird. It's by Bailey Weatherford from Lighthouse Christian Academy here in Ledbetter, Kentucky. She's a 12th grade student, and it's kind of a different take on the animal that she's got this wonderful dove-like bird, kind of the silhouette of the bird with music stabs and music notes inside of it. And you'll notice she's got some different colored fabrics than the rest of them, and she's used other materials from the challenge fabrics, which is acceptable, and she's kind of really created the block and made it her own and added in little bits and pieces there of the music, so it's very pretty. And this quilt block, we've got a cute little whale on here, and you can just see the little spray coming out of the blowhole of the whale that she's put together. It's called Ocean Blue by Rebecca DiConsola. She's a homeschool sewing class out of Wheaton, Illinois, and she's from 7th grade, so again, very creative with the different animals that they choose to go with it. And you'll see that on the next block as well. That one's a lot of fun. It's called The Food Chain, and as you can see, we've got this great big shark down at the bottom corner chasing after 2 different fish, and then there's a little sea turtle coming across as well. So these underwater scenes are always very popular with the kids. This is by Gabe Holcomb. He's from a homeschool in Dexter, Kentucky, and he won an honorable mention in the 5th through 8th grade category with this block. and it's just fantastic.
Well composed.
Yes, he's choosing
Composition
just
is
the right
excellent.
fabrics to go.
Oh.
And then last we've got our 7th grade block by Delaney Eastep from Immaculate Conception School out of Columbia, Illinois. It's called Perfect Little Ladybug, and you can see she's got these wonderful little ladybugs scattered all across this quilt. She's used the challenge fabrics to kind of create the border and that central design, but then the ladybugs are almost kind of dancing around the edges to go with it. So clearly choosing animals that they enjoy, something that they're interested in, and combining it into quilts and learning about the quilts and how to do this different art form is something that we love to see at the museum. You know, brings it all together, you know, for us, and we're able to exhibit these quilts. All of the blocks that come in, we put out in our galleries, and we send out fabric usually in August each year so that they can kind of gear up for that contest and get ideas from what has gone before. And the visitors love seeing that the kids are creating, you know, that these are kindergarten through 12th grade students that are creating these wonderful blocks.
And how do I get on your mailing list?
They can contact us at the museum, either by phone or then through our website, as Judy had mentioned, thequiltmuseum.org, and they can find information about the School Block Challenge contest up there as well, and kind of get in with when the fabric is ready and when blocks are due, and get their kids ready to go.
Well, these are just excellent.
Yes.
I mean, the quilts, which belong to the Quilt Museum, are just wonderful, and also this annual Quilt Block Challenge that you do.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's wonderful that just anything that supports creativity with our young people, and I just think it's great. So, well, Greg, time passes, doesn't it?
Well, it does, but before we go, what one thing would you
Yes.
two like our viewers to remember? Judy, what one thing would you like
About
them to
quilts.
remember about
About
quilts?
well,
Or Paducah.
or you know, about this particular episode is that all the, if you will, finished, completed quilts that I talked about, those people started with their creativity when they were kids.
Yes, you're right.
And
All
it's
that's-
so important to keep that. And then once you get older, to keep doing it. Because it's important to your soul.
But what you're saying, each of these master quilts that you showed us started perhaps with a quilt block somewhere. That's a
Somewhere.
wonderful, and so it's so important to do that.
Yes.
And Becky, what would you like our viewers to remember?
I think a lot of what Judy said, that creativity, but definitely specific to the School Block Challenge, is that it's open to kids all across the country, and they don't have to be in regular schools. You know, it's something that they can learn.
Homeschool
They don't have to
clubs.
have that experience of quilting to participate.
And there's no such thing as a bad quilt block, right?
Exactly.
And that is so true this year. They are all fun.
Yes, they're always good.
And my last comment, this is just the tip of the iceberg. These are just the ones that are related to animals
Yes.
on our show For the Love of Animals. How many more themes are out there? So people are just going to have to go to the website or come to Paducah and visit the Quilt Museum. Right, Greg? Right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And we run so quickly out of
I
time,
know
Darlene.
we do. I know.
And so, in closing,
We want to thank you too for
yes,
coming and
so much
and organizing
spending
this
your
show
time.
for us.
You two are an annual fixture with us.
That's right. We look forward
Thank
to
you.
the next show.
We're happy to be here.
Good.
I'm Greg,
I'm Darlene.
and we want our viewers to remember one thing: give your pet a little extra love today
And every day.
See you next time.
Bye.